Hi. And thanks everyone for coming. This has been the most beautiful wedding I've ever seen, and I'm not surprised. I mean, the second I met Amanda, I was like, oh my god, she's like way too pretty to be my friend. And then she like totally nerded out on me, and I was like, okay, well, I guess it's gonna work. But you can see in every single detail, in the people that she knows, in her family and her friends, and this gorgeous space tonight, her influence and her style. And I could not be more pleased that has extended to the man she has chosen to be her husband, because he is, I mean, just perfect. Come on. I mean, the sweetest, most romantic person I've ever encountered. I mean, not romantic towards me, romantic towards Amanda. I mean, just everything he does is done with such care and such attention to not only just being a nice person, but being the perfect person for Amanda. And I mean, I was watching them practice their dance earlier this week, and it was so precious. Just the moments they share together are so sweet, and I feel so lucky this week. You know, I came in not knowing John's family at all, barely knowing John, not knowing the bridal party, and everyone is just wonderful and nice and just so precious. And I want to share one of my favorite quotes from a man named Krishnamurti. The moment you have in your heart this extraordinary thing called love and feel the depth, the delight, the ecstasy of it, you will discover that for you, your world is transformed. And I've known Amanda since we were in high school, and I've seen her through all sorts of things, and I've never seen her reach the sort of depth of love that she has with John. And you know, they say that a rainbow-year wedding is extra lucky, so I was told today. So I have no doubts in my mind that their love will last forever and beyond, and that they will just be such a wonderful couple and will be able to get through anything that they face. So let's raise our glasses. This gorgeous couple here. And toast. Cheers.
All right. So, this is a momentous occasion in so many different ways. Sometimes I really do feel like my life has been leading up to this moment. Some people doubted if this moment would actually happen with John Cagan. But it has, and here it is. Some people would call what John and I have as a bromance. You know, there's been a lot of love. Maybe an occasional kiss here and there. On the cheek. Let's make sure that's clear. It's on the cheek. All that John Cagan means to me and to everyone else. So first, I'd like to thank the Eatons for their generosity and for raising such a beautiful young woman. You can clap that out. I'd like to thank the Cagans for, one, having John Cagan. And two, for all the love and dedication I know that went into raising this guy right here. So let's clap it out for them as well. So I'd also like to thank, I think the guy from Duck Dynasty's right over here. If you stand up, Hank, and wave. Just stand up. Yeah, there he is. That's John Hank right there. You can stand up and wave. I think Carl Winslow's in the house as well. If you could just, it's from family members. I don't know if y'all remember that. It's good. Steve Urkel. I think that one other thing that needs to be pointed out today is that for Steve, now introduced two Cagan children to their significant others. Steve, stick by me, bud. I got you. Like I said, how do you summarize a lifetime of memories and all these good times in some little small toast? How do you incorporate all the sleepovers and watching football and the video games and just the amount of time spent with somebody into just a few minutes? I've learned more from John Cagan than probably anybody else with the exception of my own parents. I've learned many, many different lessons. Kind of that first lesson, and I'd like to just go through a few of them. There's 4 lessons. And we're just going to go through 4 lessons. This is, as Amanda told me yesterday, this is the teacher in me coming out. These 4 lessons. The first thing is, you always got to be ready to fight. And you gotta be able to fight for what you believe in. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. Everyone's wondering what story I'm going to tell right now. When John and I were kids, he called me up one time and he's like, Dave, I'm going to this new church. My mom wants me to hang out with these kids at this youth group. So why don't we go to the park and we'll just go play baseball? I was like, oh, okay, let's do that. We go to the park, play baseball, and in front of me is this humongous man. And he was like 12. It was John Hank. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And so we meet each other. And John's always got this swag about him, right? He's like, oh, I'm the man. I got it going on. It's good. No worries. He thinks so. He walks up, and Hank and him are going to, Hank's pitching, and John's going to be hitting. John walks up to the plate like, oh, I got this. No worries. I'm about to hit each and every one of these out of the park. Hank walks up, and Hank throws one by him. Throws another one by him. And John starts to get a little frustrated. I can see it all over his face. Starts to get a little frustrated. And Hank, he starts talking a little bit. It's good. But of course, I couldn't keep my big mouth shut. So John swings and misses one more time. And I don't know what I said. I might have made fun of him. I might have stolen his pizza. I don't know what exactly happened. And only a few of you got that. But John runs up to me. He's something we like to call the Cagan Rage. Runs up to me, throws me up against this fence, and he's just about to jack me in the face. I kind of looked at him and smiled. I was like, John, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, probably 10 youth group kids with us, including the pastor's son. And John looks at me, he goes, they're all looking at us, aren't they? I was like, yep. Like, well, I guess I get to know the true me. From that moment on, a lot of people there may have been in awe of John Cagan. Some may have feared John Cagan, but all respected John Cagan. From that, kind of the second lesson that I've learned from John throughout the years is that when you're doing something, you gotta give it all you got. You gotta give it all you got. Go big or go home. If you haven't heard John say that in some sort of way, you haven't spent enough time with John. There's at some point, whether you're at an intramural game, or whether you're just on a basketball court, or if you're at a Florida football game yelling and screaming, he's gonna be like, no, we gotta go big. But that's the way John Cagan always did things. He was always willing to go big for people. He was always willing to give all he had. Third, you gotta take some chances in life. You gotta take a few risks. You gotta sometimes go out on a limb. You don't always have to play it safe. And that's something that I really have learned from John throughout the years. And most of the big decisions that I've made throughout the years have been with John. Anything that you can imagine, any decision to be made, John's been one of the first people that I always call. And one of those big decisions was when I decided whether I actually wanted to go to graduate school or whether I wanted to do something called Teach for America. And I was sitting there and John's like, man, we could have a lot of good times. Like, you could go to law school at UF. Just, we could live another year having a good time. And I was like, yeah. But he's like, but I think that this is something that would be really good for you. This is something that would, this is an opportunity that maybe you shouldn't pass up. And through a lot of decisions in my life, for better or for worse, I've listened to John.
For the record, though, I was just trying to get him to introduce me to some TFA girls.
Well, that's what I'm about to get to. So, I decided to get into Teach for America. Little did I know, a few months later, Amanda and I would sit down at somewhere at induction for Teach for America and have a nice little lunch and just kind of chat. Little did I know that several years later, this is where we would be. But it's risks like that. It's that type of willing to go out on a limb that you see from John all the time, that it's calculated risks. It's things that, you want. He's not making not too many dumb decisions. But it's that type of thing that when you take a risk, sometimes you land big. And that's where we are today. And that kind of leads me to my final John Cagan lesson, which is be loyal to your friends and family and look out for them always. You know, it's simple, it's straightforward, but that's John Cagan. If you need something, John will be there. If you're in a bind, John will do what he can to get you out of that bind. If you're going through a rough time, John Cagan will be there to get you through that storm. And he always takes care of his friends. And I know that each and every one of these guys in here, Hank, Corey, Woods, Craig, where you at? Each and every one of these guys, they know that. Anybody who's been a friend of John Cagan, he is somebody who's incredibly loyal to his friends and takes loyalty very, very seriously. But in all honesty, that's why I call him my best friend. So let me personalize this. You know, there's many times I have needed something, and John Cagan has always been there. I've been in plenty of binds, and John Cagan has always tried to get me out of them. I have seen very, very difficult times in this life, and John Cagan has always been willing to ride through the storms with me. And that is absolutely priceless, because good times are great, and you love them, but bad times are the ones that define friendships. Those are the times that define you. And so much of the time we forget these lessons. Maybe we leave people behind. Maybe we forget about people that we know, even on in our minds right now, like, man, I should give this person a phone call. Man, I should do this for somebody. Man, I should do that. And what I've learned from John Cagan is to do it. Is to be loyal to your family, be loyal to your friends, be loyal to the ones that love you. Because in the end, those are the people you got around you. And Amanda is an incredibly beautiful bride, as we can all see with us today. And she's been a wonderful friend. And I know that these two will be happy together because they got correct priorities. They got God and they got people. And they go together. My wish for you, Mr. and Mrs. Cagan, is that you find God and really know Him and His will for your lives. That you enjoy the love of one another in the sacred bond of marriage ordained from the beginning of time. That you will see a family in the future and that you will lead and see and that family grow through the decades. And that you will have your friends and family and community around you enjoying them and their love the rest of your days. So, Mr. Cagan, as tough times will come, continue to be a fighter. Continue to go big, Mr. Cagan, and do big things and make your mark on this world because it's desperate for leadership. Mr. Cagan, don't just live a safe life, but continue to take risks and take hold of everything that God has planned for you and your wife because it will be more than you all could imagine. And Mr. Cagan, continue that loyalty and love for those around you and never stop. I pray that these attributes and your love of God and people, which give you the legendary status that you have amongst these men and women, will be your legacy for generations into the future. And so, I raise a toast to a man that, although I have used plenty of words here today, it is impossible to put into words the gratitude that I have for this man who I call my family, my brother, my friend, John Cagan.